So guys, I didn't want to do this, but I got into the databases today and I wanted to show you what I found. Look at the adverse events in the OpenVerse database, which is based on the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System of the US government. So if you look at the mortality reports through October 15, you can see that actually from the 1990s, this reporting system has been recording reported deaths based on vaccines. As you can imagine, and there have been some scientific studies on this, these reports have been majorly underreported. But interestingly enough, they went up from about 80 in the 1990s to about 600 in 2019 in the US. So that's actually interesting. But much more interesting is what you can see here. We have a huge increase in 2021, and we currently have a worldwide reported, it's not worldwide, but it's US and other countries, of 17,000. Even in 2020, we only had 419, so it was actually less than usual, which is kind of interesting. So this database differentiates between total reported deaths, and these are soft numbers. These are reported mostly by medical practitioners, but they can also be reported by you. So not all these reports are valid, so we call them soft numbers because they are not confirmed hard numbers. But studies estimate that this may be a 90% underreporting, because lots of deaths and disabilities are not associated correctly by medical practitioners or even relatives to a vaccination event. So it reports the total numbers, which is, the highest number was about 2,400 in April, and then it went down a little bit, and then it got up a little bit, depending, I guess, on the numbers of vaccine doses given. It also reports the ones that have been reported to this database from outside the US, which the highest was in July, and then inside the US with the highest number in April. So you can kind of get an idea what's going on. You can also see where they're coming from, or you can compare them. For example, you can compare deaths from COVID vaccines with deaths from flu vaccines. So we had 274 versus 2,000, so it's about 10 times more. And these are the days after the vaccination. So you can see that most reports happened within 2 days after vaccination, and then it drops by almost 50% and then slowly goes down after day 3. According to these reports, which are soft numbers, you can see there have been 1,200 associated to the J&J, 4,000 to Moderna, 11,000 to the Pfizer, and another 50 that are not known. Most have been reported in males, second to females, and then 800 unknown. And most have been actually reported, well, besides the unknowns, most deaths have been reported in the groups above 66 years. And then it's the 51 years, and then it goes down, but that's also because these groups were vaccinated first, and then it slowly went to the others. So we don't know the final numbers yet. This is just what we're having right now. So then we have the European database of suspected adverse drug reaction reports. So this is data from Europe, and there's almost every pharmaceutical you can imagine in here, including 4 COVID vaccines. If you go in here, you see them split up by Moderna. So these are not deaths, these are just adverse events. And maybe actually we should finish this here, because it's not just mortality, it's also, really importantly, I was there earlier. Okay, so most importantly, it's also a total of 818,000 adverse events reports worldwide. This is what we just looked at, these numbers. Supposedly 17,000 deaths, 83,000 hospitalization, 92,000 visits to urgent care because of vaccine reactions. 127,000 doctor office visits because of that, 7,000 cases of severe allergic reaction, which can lead to death, 10,000 cases of Bell's palsy, which can damage your facial nerves, supposedly 2,600 miscarriages, 8,400 heart attacks, 10,000 cases of myocarditis, 26,000 people that may be permanently disabled, 3,000 people that had clotting issues, 18,000 adverse events that were life-threatening, 31,000 severe allergic reactions, and 9,000 cases of shingles. So you kind of get an idea what's going on, and this, I bet you, has not been reported in the media. We can limit this to things that where we know it's coming from the US or US territories, so the numbers go down dramatically. It's only almost 8,000 deaths, but it's still very high numbers, right? You can see them here for yourself. 1,200 miscarriages are still 1,200 too many, and you should know, and probably do know, that any other pharmaceutical in history would have been banned with these numbers already. It would have been blocked after a few cases. So on TV you probably get maybe 4 cases of myocarditis reported, or 3 people died of clotting diseases. But look at these reports. The numbers, the real numbers, are very different, and these may be underestimated. They could be overestimated, but they most likely are underestimated. So if we go to Europe, we have a similar thing. It just looks a little different. It's a little more difficult to see because it hasn't been made so graphically easy, but you can see that there's the Moderna vaccine, and you can see that there's a reported 137,000 adverse events. These are not deaths, these are all kinds of adverse events. I don't have numbers for deaths. Last numbers I saw were about 17,000 as far as I remember in Europe, but I don't have them confirmed. We can sort this by time. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Right now it's not working. Okay, let's just move on, but we can basically see how many countries, and if we get it to work, we can see, well, here we can see the age groups. In this case it's much more female than male, and most reports came from non-healthcare professionals, and a little less than half came from healthcare professionals. If this works, we can also see the reaction groups, which means, yeah, it's working this time. So we can kind of see which body systems have been damaged, and we can sort that by gender. So mostly female. Again, we can sort that by seriousness. So we can see the dark numbers here are serious, 33,000, and the light numbers are classified as non-serious, 58,000, right? So that still are 33,000 people with serious conditions, plus those 13, plus those 29, plus those 14, right? So it sums up to a couple 100,000. And then we can see where it came from in the European Union, but that's probably not so important. So this goes on to the other vaccines. This is the Pfizer vaccine. There we have 505,000 reports of adverse events. This is all kinds of adverse events. Again, it's mostly female, over 70% female. We can move on to the AstraZeneca, 395,000 adverse events, mostly female. Numbers are very different, right? And then we have the Johnson & Johnson, the J&J, with 32,000 cases. So that hasn't been used as much. Still majority female. If we sum up all these cases, it's over 1 million adverse events from Europe alone. They're not all serious. I'm trying to find... Sorry, I was trying to find how severe they are, but this one has a different sorting rate. And then we have another database. It's called VIGI-Access. It's by the World Health Organization. You have to open this website, read all the disclaimers, and then you type in the search term COVID-19 vaccine. That's the search term, and then you end up with a database like this. So in here you can see that we had a total of worldwide at least 2,323,143 adverse events that are monitored by the World Health Organization. How many have you heard in the news? 10? 20? Maximum, right? Then they are sorted by body systems that have been, so this is all the COVID vaccines together, all four, or maybe even the Russian and Chinese included, I don't know. And then they're sorted by body systems. So there's over 1 million for cardiac disorders, and you can sort this by which specific problem has been reported, right? And you can do that with blood and lymphatics, 943,000. You can do that with everything: congenital, fertility, pregnancy. So basically you can sort them. 3,000 spontaneous abortions reported worldwide. Remember that these are usually underreported. We've heard reports from hospitals where doctors and nurses are encouraged not to report certain side effects, or they simply deny them. Most seem to be skin disorders, 317, and respiratory disorders. Interesting. Okay, sorted by continents, it's probably who got the most vaccines. It's mostly Europe, and then secondary Americas, and then others. Age groups, it's pretty similar, but here actually most of them are between 18 and 44 years. So these are all side effects, right? These are not just deaths. So you can imagine once they start vaccinating kids, it's going to shift over to the kids. Right now it's only 2%, but the damage reports will come from here because they haven't been vaccinated yet. These are people that really shouldn't be damaged because they're still considered young and healthy, right? So they are considered having a low risk of COVID complications, versus people over 65 are high risk, and they have the lowest vaccine adverse events. So these people that are not in the high risk group, if they are healthy and not obese and don't have diabetes and don't have food intolerances and so on, are actually damaged most by the vaccine. We see again that it's 69% female, 30% male, and we can see that almost all the reports are from this year, and there's just a few from last year for the campaigns that started in December. I just felt I wanted to share that with you so you can hear something that you don't hear in the news. You can also file your own reports. This is a World Health Organization report, and you can also file your own reports in the VERSE database.